Hi there, Dr. Brian here on Thursday, end of the day, another great day. Now my tip for the day is get healthy. I'm paying attention to world events and there's a lot of signs that the life we live may not be the same in a period of time. It could be short, it could be longer. I guess the one thing that's consistent through a lot of the different comments and observations is that our life may change. The world that we know today may not exist as we expect it to. Through a chain of events that could be financial, they could be political, they could be both. So what's interesting is that there's a growing concern that the economic system may not stay in its current form. There may be a period of somewhat dislocation, which could mean that some of the things that we take for granted as being free or provided by a third-party payer may stop, and among those might be prescription medicines. There'll be a lot of outcry that they should be that they should still be paid for, but that may not be possible. And so therefore it really is up to the individual to ensure that each of us is healthy. And there's much that we can do as individuals that actually will help our bodies function at their best. They're designed to do that, and mostly when we have long-term health issues, it's very much often because we unwittingly or knowingly continue with habits and practices that don't serve us. So rooting them out and understanding what they are and then making appropriate changes, I think, is essential if we're to survive. It may be that if the medications we're used to are not freely available free, as they are largely in Australia, then we may be faced with a situation that we actually go without, we find an alternative, or we fall into quite ill health. So, if it means there's some very interesting data that if things like blood pressure, if you drop your weight by 10%, you get something like a 30% shift in blood pressure. That's significant, and that's not hard to do. If you weigh 100 kilos, you've got to lose 10. If you weigh 70 kilos, you've got to lose 7. It's not a lot to do. And if it was the difference between dying and living, what's it worth? I guess that's where we make some value judgments ourselves about what the pain of change might be relative to the benefit. So I think that it's quite important that we actually look at our life, look at the things that we depend upon that often come externally, and wonder how we may arrange things in the future to look after our health that actually would mean that we were more self-sufficient in terms of food, and many of the things that food local. I'm not suggesting you have to grow your own animals and plant your own garden, but you may be more at a disadvantage if you live on the 25th floor in a very urban area where getting to the necessaries, and if you have to walk the stairs because there's not much electricity, then you'll be quite fit by the end of it. So getting healthy is good for you no matter what happens, but if the worst came to the worst, the people that had high levels of fitness would probably be at a competitive advantage, and you could be one of those people if you take action now to look after your health and derive benefit no matter what the outcome is. So that's my thought for the day. Get healthy, and many times the solution is super cheap. So my 3-part suggestions would be: drink a litre of water before you eat anything every morning. Drink 1 litre of clean water that's got no flavours or colours or anything. It is not tea, it's not lemon water, it's not apple cider vinegar. It is water that's closer to body temperature than fridge. So you drink a litre of water that's not super cold first thing in the morning before you eat. You spend half an hour a day taking exercise that raises your heart rate and moves you towards perspiration. If transport wasn't as readily available as it is today for any number of reasons, You might need to be able to walk for an hour each way to get to places. You might have to walk for 20 minutes to the shop and carry your shopping home. So you'd want a bit of fitness. And the other thing that's good for our health is to create a network. So, get to know your neighbours and make friends with people around you. Find out the people that you like-minded. And the fourth thing, so water, exercise, network of friends, and eat healthy. Get used to eating food that's fresh and whole, and learn to cook. If you can't cook, you'll be at a disadvantage. So I think there are very interesting times ahead for all of us, and I would hope and pray that we actually continue to live in the life that we used to, but maybe we won't. So we might be wise to get ahead if the Armageddon people are correct, or if their wants for only wind and solar power, that'll mean basically there'll be no ship or air transport. There'll probably be no personal transport. There may not be any public transport. And if there's none of those other things available, there'll be no logistics, so there'll be nothing in the shops. So we may have to learn to cultivate, build, and kill with our own hands, because the life we know would not continue. And so if you are a strong proponent of wind and solar, you should probably think about what that means in reality, because you can't generate enough electricity with those two means to run an iron smelter. You couldn't make concrete, you couldn't make steel. It would be pretty well it'd be just wood, and if you couldn't cut down trees, I'm not sure what you'd do. It would be kind of like mud huts. It could be quite amusing. Certainly sort the men out from the boys pretty quickly, or the women from the girls. Anyway, that's a weird sideline. Anyway, but get healthy for your own health. Get healthy for your own outcomes. Get healthy to help you reach your goals. Okay, bye.